Hi, so today I'm going to be talking about mental blockages. Mental blockages come in various forms. I'm going to be talking a lot about mental blockages in a short amount of time, but I'm going to just say that I use this platform to talk about energetics for wellness. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I think that we need to pay more attention to how energy plays a major role in our health, our well-being, our spiritual well-being, emotional well-being, mental well-being, physical well-being even. A lot of the things that we hold on to spiritually, emotionally, mentally, ends up becoming physical manifestations. So I hope that me talking about this stuff will normalize the fact that we all have burdens that we can't practicalize, and we all have things that we hold on to, like emotional attachments to things that aren't healthy for us. And a lot of the things that we manifest physically that we don't want as a result may be from these energetic blockages, or these energetic obstacles in general. So today I'm going to be talking about mental blockages, because when it comes to mental blockages, I know that a lot of people are aware of energetic blockages, but they're not aware of these the different types of energetic blockages. And I like to get into detail so then I can inform you in the best way I can, so then you can just take what I give you and run with it somehow. So when it comes to mental blockages, I like to trace back to the chakras. You can also call them energy centers if you don't like the name chakras, but the chakras are the energy signatures behind what makes our mentality happen. Like when we have a mind of our own, our unique set of ideas and beliefs, it all stems from these chakras that have these subcategories, and each chakra has a certain function, and depending on its function, we have a list of mindsets to each chakra. And I do talk about that in other videos, so I'll put the link in the description down below for that. But when it comes to mental blockages, it can directly affect your chakras. And when I talk about chakras and energy signatures and how this is like pretty much the root of like what makes your mentality run, when it comes to mental blockages, you can have a disruption with one of these chakras, and you can also have a disruption with one of the mental bodies that is running off of the chakra. And so if you have a mental blockage, it's because there's either a blockage or an imbalance. And I should have brought up earlier that imbalances happen when there's a lot of emotional activity happening with you, but there's not enough logic and practicality behind your emotional outlets or outbursts, or emotional, maybe you're repressing your emotions and you spend a lot of time in your mental body. Well, maybe then you have an imbalance because you're using too much of your mental body. Maybe you're using too much of your ego, which is a mental body. And maybe you structure a lot of your life based on your ego. So you're using that crown chakra, which is a mental aspect, to make your life based on how you feel in your ego, instead of making that interconnected balance between your mental body and your emotional body. So let's talk about blockages. So when it comes to blockages and your chakras, a blockage can be that you're not using certain emotional chakras enough, or maybe you're not using mental chakras enough. Maybe you don't know how to use your ego to your advantage. And so this could be a mental blockage, because instead of being able to go maneuver through life with logic and practicality, you're not able to do that because you feel so much. Maybe you've had to deal with a lot of trauma in your life, and it keeps you it keeps you feeling like you have to maneuver with your ego, or maybe you feel like you can't use your emotional body as much because you're afraid to. A lot of different factors can happen. A lot of life circumstances happen to everyone. But if you're having a problem accessing your or using your mental body in the way you want, it could be because, one, you're not allowing yourself to be tuned into endless possibilities. And what I mean by that is you are the creator of your experience, right? If you want to see a result, you make it happen, right? You may feel like you can't make things happen. You may also feel like you have a narrow-minded way of going about life. Maybe things can't just happen for you in a certain way because you block yourself from believing that. This is a mental blockage. Maybe you're not able to come up with ideas. Mental blockage. Maybe you're too much in your ego. You use your ego more than your emotions. Mental imbalance. Okay? And let's talk about imbalances, mental imbalances. As I stated earlier, you can be in your emotional body so much that you don't use your ego or your crown chakras enough. Or you can be too much in your ego, and everything you feel, you create your reality based on that, and it's imbalanced with the emotional aspects and the emotional connectivity of your life. Mental imbalance. They could also be emotional imbalances, like mental and emotional imbalances go hand in hand at times. But when it comes to imbalances, these can lead to blockages because you reach a certain limit. There's like an energetic limit that you may have. Like everyone has a different kind of limit. Like we may have different emotional limits. Same with mental limits. Like sometimes you just can't keep taking in so much information because you need a break. You know, sometimes you can't continue to focus on one thing because you need to focus on something else, right? And when your mental limits have been reached, you can experience a blockage where you just zone out. You just can't, or you just have this fog or this haze over you and you just can't function. Imbalances work in the way where your mental and emotional bodies, you know, either you're putting so much energy into your mental bodies and you maneuver with your ego, or you put a lot of energy into your emotional bodies and you put a lot of that energy into your sacral, which can resonate with a lot of fear and self-doubt, or your heart, where you respond so emotionally to triggers that your outbursts aren't logical, you know? And if you learn how to balance these two and you learn to strengthen both of them, you'll be able to really uplift your spiritual wellness, your spiritual well-being. And how you do that is being able to use these things without having any fear of using them, like understanding that these are just aspects of you and they're meant to be used and they're meant to be strengthened. It's the same as you exercising your physical body, which I like to do. I like to work on all of my bodies, my mental, emotional, and physical bodies, for overall spiritual wellness. And if you're not using your emotional bodies, like you repress your emotions, then you will have, you won't be able to handle emotions. You'll have a hard time connecting with people maybe, and you'll even have a hard time like understanding your own emotions because you're not spending a lot of time in that space to strengthen that body, that energy body. Same with your mental body, okay? If you're not using enough of your energy to dive into what's logical, to learn what's practical, to understand problem solving, or even just expanding your mind to learn things, if you're not doing that, then you'll have a weak mental body. And it's really important to have a strong mental body, so then you can project an energy of having wherewithal, okay? You want to be able to project an energy where you are aware of who you are and you know yourself, so then other people can't sway you into their beliefs and what they know and what you should be doing. Having a strong mental body will allow you to be strong in where you stand. Also, it'll allow you to be open to other possibilities, so then you're not just staying attached and single-minded to one idea. The mind isn't meant to be in a box. If you put your mind in a template, it can create a lot of uncomfortability. We're spirits that love to be curious, and we love exploration. So if you're not allowing yourself to explore different realms of reality and different experiences, then you're not giving yourself the necessary amount of the what's necessary to build wisdom, is what I'm trying to say. You're not giving yourself the to have a lot of wisdom, because you can only build wisdom based off experiences and from learning. So having a strong mental body is very beneficial, especially because we're in a very physical world. And I just want to put out there, when it comes to our physical reality, this is inherently mental. Like, everything is inherently mental. So I can put 2 fingers up and you know that 1 + 1 is 2. Okay, that's all a mental breakdown. So that's how we know that the physical body itself is technically a mental body. I mean, it's a mixture of both mental and emotional, and physical, obviously, but physical, like, overall, the physical body is like a mental aspect, and so is everything else. If you crash into something, you will get hurt. You know, there's a lot of common sense around that. And if you have a strong mental body, you'll be able to know these things before having to experience them as well. So you'll have a lot of foreknowledge by strengthening your mental bodies, or at least being able to use your mental bodies and not be afraid of being logical, not being afraid of learning, giving yourself a chance to learn. When we are afraid to give ourselves a chance to learn something or to try new things, it could be because we're too much in our emotional bodies, and our emotional bodies absorb all that fear frequency, and it could stop the mental body learning new experiences. So it's important to keep all those things in mind when you're practicing anything for wellness. Like, if you're trying to physically improve yourself, like, let's say you're just physically improving yourself, you're exercising, you're eating healthy, there is a mental aspect to that. You have to be able to know, like, when certain things are okay for you, how far to push yourself, and when you have certain limits, right? It's important to have knowledge on that, because if you were to act purely emotionally, then you would probably things that are illogical, right? And I can talk more about emotional blockages in my next video, but I just want to close this video out by saying a mental blockage can be anything that stops one of your mental energy centers from working properly. You're not expanding that space. You're not giving yourself enough wisdom and knowledge in that area of your life. So when it comes to your ego, you're not learning when to disarm your ego. You're not learning how to add that balance between your ego and your heart and your desires. You have to be able to determine with your mental bodies how much emotion is going to balance out a situation, and when logic is appropriate. You know, you don't want to display logic if someone's giving you feelings, because trying to connect with someone who's giving you feelings and you're giving them logic and you're telling them they're not being logical, they're not being practical, it can be very harmful to a person, and it can be very traumatic. And so you want to be able to balance out situations, and you learn that balance by exercising that mental body and also that emotional body to be able to handle emotions of yourself and others. And if you are able to do that, you'll have overall wellness within all of your chakras, or at least spiritually, you'll feel spiritually whole. You're able to maneuver through situations without feeling as if it's a danger to you, or like there's a threat. You have to go through fight and flight just to get through something, right? All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it explained mental blockages and imbalances clearly. If you have questions, I will read your comments, and I hope to see you in my next video. You take care.